Well, welcome to the channel. It is a live stream. I am Keith Bennett. Thank you for joining me. We are recording. We have audio. Let's just listen in and make sure we sound good. Testing 1, 2. Yeah, sounds great. So thank you for joining me. Obviously, I don't have audio in the studio, so I'm using headphones. So if I had my speakers on in here, which is a taboo, you would be getting horrible echo. So one of the challenges anytime you're live streaming is making sure your audio is good. And we're going to talk a little bit about audio today, headphones. We're going to talk about the ATEM Mini Pro. It has audio inputs and video inputs with audio. We're going to talk about the HyperDeck Studio Mini, which is a small player. I will show you a picture of that as well as a demo of that in my studio. I am going to dedicate a whole live to the HyperDeck Mini. I think it's that important. I haven't seen lots of videos online for the HyperDeck Mini, and I think it is a fantastic tool to use with Blackmagic Design ATEM Mini. So Blackmagic, if you're listening, thank you so much for designing stuff like this. Let me give you a quick history right now of just the ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini Pro. Let me just say this, the ATEM Mini came out a little over a year ago, and it revolutionized things for people who wanted to capture video right from cameras like this DSLR I have right here. On a magic arm. It's just a display right now, but I have it ready to go. I could hook it up into one of my ATEM Mini channels that I'm using right now. But when the ATEM Mini Pro came out, it's using the same software that they use for their big switchers. So as we look at the software today, you're going to see a lot of grayed out HDMI inputs because the ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini Pro, and now the ATEM Mini ISO, they only have 4 HDMI inputs and 1 HDMI output apiece. The difference between the ATEM Mini, which came out a little over a year ago, and the Pro, I think it's been out for about 6 or 7 months. The ISO, about 2.5 months. People have had them in their hands, maybe 3 months. The difference between the ATEM Mini and the ATEM Mini Pro is the ATEM Mini Pro is a huge advancement in that it will encode H.264 right inside it. So it's going to take the HDMI inputs and everything that you do switching live. It's going to encode that program out into H.264. It can also broadcast. So you could actually go in the software, put in your YouTube streaming key, your Facebook streaming key, or whatever live streaming software that you use, and you can stream right from the ATEM Mini. And here's a picture of it on my desk. And I'll go to picture in picture, and you can even pop up a picture in picture in the middle of that broadcast and have the name on the bottom of the screen, or you can remove that. Again, if you're here, please let me know in the stream. It says that we're live. I can see myself streaming live. So I'd love to hear from you, but I can turn that graphic off. And so to be able to stream remotely, as long as I have an internet port from the ATEM Mini, in my opinion, is huge. And so I don't know if you have one or you're looking at getting the ATEM Mini Pro, maybe you're streaming a different way. I'm actually using the ATEM Mini was a web camera. So you would plug in high-end DSLR cameras with an HDMI input just like this. And I've got one right here from that camera. So you would plug this HDMI input into the back of your ATEM Mini, and you would use the USB-C port in the back of the device, and that would be plugged into your laptop, and you could use it as a webcam. If you didn't have an ATEM Mini Pro, you would have to find a way to get a DSLR hooked up to your computer, and the way you would do that is with a cam link. And so I've actually streamed from one camera, just like this one over my shoulder, by plugging in the HDMI cable into the cam link and then plugging the USB port. And this is a high-speed blue USB port. You need a high-speed port. And I could stream 1080p right into my laptop from my DSLR. And that's great. So cameras like this can go into software like OBS, which I have right here on the screen behind me. Let me lower my microphone. So here I am. This is what you're seeing, the program live, and this is the preview right here. And yet I'm sending all of that information right now from my ATEM Mini Pro. So as I change cameras, change to this overhead view of my desk, and here is my ATEM Mini. Here is my HyperDeck right here. And we're going to talk about that and demo a video from that here in our stream. I can send those signals over to OBS through that USB-C port, and you can see the picture live in the preview view. And I can also show it to you right here on my laptop over my shoulder. So amazing tools that we have today to stream. So I want to highlight two of them, the ATEM Mini Pro and the HyperDeck, and how they integrate. I also want to show you the software on the screen and show you how I set things up. And we're going to start with this picture right here. And I'm going to pop in my video so you can see me. We'll turn the lower thirds graphic off, and we'll talk about how I did that. And you have the ability now to see me. You see a lower thirds, and you also can see my ATEM Mini and my HyperDeck. So HyperDeck, ATEM Mini, how do they communicate with cameras? Well, first off, in the back of your ATEM Mini, and I'll show you a slide here in a minute, you have the ports that go along the back of it. So not only do I have power right here, next to that, I have a Ethernet cable. Next to that, I have a USB-C port. Let's pull this down just a little bit. We'll back this camera up just a little bit. So power supply, bump these lights just a little bit. I'm using the Elgato key light to bump up the light on the desk a little bit. We'll bump up both of these a little bit brighter. There you go. And so power supply, Ethernet port, USB-C going to my laptop right now to use it as a web camera. Next to that is the HDMI out. I'm using that right now to go to my monitor, which is a ICANN VK7i, and that lets me see all the screens, the program screen. I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute, so you can see what I'm looking at when I look above my camera. If you wonder why I'm looking above my camera, it's because there's a monitor right above my camera. Next to that is HDMI input number 4. That's this overhead camera right here that you're seeing. Next to that, this yellow cable is coming in from my HyperDeck in channel 3 to play video clips. Channel 2 right now is the input that you're seeing, that I see, the multi-view screen. And channel 1 is this main camera right here. So without the ATEM Mini Pro, some water here real quickly. Without the ATEM Mini Pro, I wouldn't be able to do all these switches. I'd only really probably have one camera with my cam link that I would be able to use. So that focuses. And so without the switcher, I couldn't have 4 inputs plus this lower third right here. And I can change that lower third to a still over the whole screen just simply by dragging it and dropping it into my media player. So this is happening live in front of you. So I just dragged that clip. So it's not see-through, so you're seeing everything. And I can take my lower thirds and drag it back in, and there you go. On the stream out to YouTube, you have on OBS a lower third with my picture. And I'm doing all of that instead of just one option, one camera with no lower thirds, right? I'm actually using my ATEM Mini Pro to do all of that. But that's not all it'll do. I can cut to a video in channel 3 from my HyperDeck. And if I have the audio on, so it follows the video, and we'll demo that here shortly, then when I play this clip from my HyperDeck, it's going to automatically start. The audio is going to turn on. And when it's over with, I can dissolve back to this shot, and the audio will turn off on the HyperDeck, and you'll hear me again. And that's all through the HyperDeck. Now, I have my audio on all the time, so I mute it while videos are playing. There isn't an option that I have found in the ATEM Mini to take channel 1 and have it go on and off unless I use a macro. And that's a whole nother video. You can actually program macros and be able to cut and do your dissolves. In fact, a number of steps, all with the push of one button. But what I do love about the ATEM Mini Pro is I can push the transition button, light up channel 3, push the transition button, and it will play the video. So let's switch over to this screen right here. And so this is channel 1 and it's green. It's ready to go, but it's not live. This is channel 4. It's live. Now I'm getting my picture-in-picture from channel 1. Okay? So you're seeing my picture-in-picture, and I can turn that off right here and back on again. Off and on again. And this section right here controls my picture-in-picture, and I can pick what channel I want to be the picture-in-picture. Right now it's set for channel 1, and I'll show you later where you set that in the software. But so if I'm in a live event and I want to roll in an intro video and then have a screen on there, maybe with a quote or maybe a picture from my trip, maybe even a video playing in the background while I'm talking to my audience, I can put a video up there with no audio. So if I wanted to talk about my trip to the ocean, I could have the video from the Oregon coast playing in the background, my picture in front. And if I don't want this lower thirds, I can shut it off and it's off our live stream. So now if I want to go to channel 3, which is hooked into my HyperDeck. So my HyperDeck is plugged into channel 3. Here it is in my hand. And I've come out of the SDI and I'm converting this. Let's back up right now. It has one HDMI output and I have that output plugged in to my Porta-Keys monitor. So if I push play right now, you're seeing it play here and it plays on the little screen in front of the HyperDeck. So this is a big view. I can also plug my headphones into this. There is no headphone out of the HyperDeck. So this is my option for a bigger screen and for a better view of what's playing on my HyperDeck. And that's just me. You don't have to use it. You can run it from the HyperDeck on its own. You don't have to have a special monitor. So I'll hit stop. And then I have channel 3 ready now. So I'm going to change to my multi-view. There's my multi-view. And in my multi-view, if I change to channel 3, you can see that now the video is ready. It's not playing yet, so I'll go back and cue it. So now it's cued. And if I hit dissolve now, that video begins to play and you can hear the audio. Once I'm done, I can dissolve back, go back to channel 1, and the audio on that video is off. So what I love about the HyperDeck, guys, is that it gives me that option to be able to play a clip, to show it to you, to my audience, even in OBS. I can have it set in the program screen, which is playing right now. And everything that I do on my ATEM Mini is playing live on the OBS software. Or I could stream without OBS directly from my ATEM Mini Pro. So the HyperDeck integrates with the ATEM Mini Pro to allow you to play video clips. It also does 2 other things. So if you're taking notes or you want to play this back, you can also play fly-in graphics, because the software in the ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini Pro, and the ATEM Mini ISO does not let you play video clips. You can do lower thirds like I have right here below me right now. You can do slides like this. But you can't do video clips. So the HyperDeck gives me the ability to do video clips with audio, and I can do fly-in graphics. And I will demo that in a later video because I'm going to do a whole video on the HyperDeck. So let me look back here at our live, see if there's anybody on there. If you are on live with me right now, would you please give me a shout out? I sure would appreciate hearing from you and knowing that you're with me in this live stream. So again, what I love about the ATEM Mini Pro is it's got all of the bells and whistles built into it. So not only could I if I wasn't using OBS right now to demo this to you and show you all the screens, if I was just doing a live stream, I could do all that and record the program out at the same time. And so the program out is that top right. That top right, which you see right now, you see my multi-view. But that multi-view is the program output right now in this live stream. So if you don't have the ATEM Mini Pro and the ISO, and you only have the ATEM Mini, you don't get a multi-view out. All you see is what you're seeing right now. And so if you do have a monitor in your studio, you don't have the luxury of seeing what I see in the Pro and the ISO. I can see a multi-screen. So on the bottom right of the screen, you see the audio levels. Next to that, if I was live streaming from the ATEM Mini, or if I was recording, I would see exactly how my recording's doing and my stream is doing in those next two boxes on the bottom. And then the far left bottom box is the graphic that I have loaded. So I can switch that to the still now and you see it live, or I can switch it back because it's not transparent so you can't see me, or I can go back to the lower third and now you see the lower third on the screen. Now it's off. And so in this view, I can just simply turn those lower thirds on and off, and I can also drop in non-transparent lower thirds, and they will display on the screen when I click them on and off. So again, right now I'm just going to use the regular lower thirds, so you have that below me, and we'll go back to the multi-screen. So above the multi-screen, you see camera 1. Next to that, you see the multi-view, which I have my laptop, or actually I have my ATEM video output going to that screen right now. Next to that, you see channel number 3, which is my desktop. And we'll show you that here in a minute. And then you see the shot down from my camera, all on the multi-view that you see on the screen. So now let's turn around to OBS and let's show you some other cool stuff about the ATEM Mini. So you have 4 channels in, as you can see right here. Picture-in-picture on, turn off our graphic. And so channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4 is red because it's live. I have cut button. So the cut will let me cut immediately to the other shot. And I have the auto button, which lets me not do a nice slow dissolve. And I'll show you the handle on the software here shortly. Also above this, I have different transitions I can use. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 transitions. There's a mix, which is 5, and a dip. So let's turn dip on and auto. There you go. It dips to white and then back to the picture. If I go to mix, it's just a nice mixture. If I go to this first transition right up top, it's that dissolve to the right, left to right. There's a top to bottom. There's a kind of a slide picture frame over. And then there is another version. And I usually just use mix. And you saw that the picture-in-picture goes off anytime I do a transition. So 4 inputs in, you don't have 2 lines, so you see what's red is live and what's not live is green if it's ready. If it's not being used, it's in white. But if I want to prepare one of those channels, I can get it ready. And I'll show you what's happening in the multi-view. So that's the multi-view, and it's red right now on live. And I'm actually, you can see in my finger right here, if I change to channel 1 in the multi-view, it goes to that camera. If I change to 3, it goes blank because that's the video. And it's queued right now. If I cut to 3, that's the video. Sorry, I already did that. Cut back to channel 2, turn that video off. If I cut to channel 4, that's the downward camera. And you're able to see that happening now, and I've lost my multi-view. So back to the multi-view, and there's all the different angles that are available in multi-view. So now we're going to rotate around. I apologize for turning my back on you. And we are going to turn on my desktop. So the reason I'm using OBS is that I can switch to my desktop. So there you go. And on the desktop, I want to show you the software. The software is divided into four locations down here. I have the switcher screen. I have my media pool. This is my lower thirds, which is active right here. I can just drag and drop these clips right here. And whatever I drag and drop will be what will play if I turn on the the media player. And the next screen is audio. And you can see right now I have camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4 audio. Right now I have audio follow video on camera 3. That way if I play my HyperDeck Mini, I will get audio. And so you have it yellow. These first two channels are off. Channel 4 video is off because I'm not pulling any audio from any of those sources. And I am using my Rodecaster Pro into channel number 1 right here, right now. So if we switch this off, and transition over. So in this picture, you can see I have not only my ATEM Mini and my HyperDeck. If I zoom the camera out, you can see a little bit of my Rodecaster Pro, and I have a whole video on this. You can also see my Stream Deck where I can control my Elgato lights. That's what it's set up to do right now, is control my lights. I have a clock on here. I have a timer on here that I can set, all from my Stream Deck, and we'll do a whole video on that. We're going to do a whole video on the HyperDeck, and we've already done a video on the Rodecaster Pro. But the Rodecaster Pro comes out into channel number 1, and I have channel number 1 on. It's red, and you can also now look in the software. And you can see right here, channel 1 is red. If you look right here, this little button right here, if I click on it, I have 4 frames of delay set in my audio. And the reason for that is my audio is coming from my Rodecaster Pro through my SM7B. And I'll switch back to that real quickly here. Just want to make this very understandable today. So let's switch back to that shot and transition it over. So my SM7B is going into channel 1 of my Rodecaster Pro, and then it's coming out, right? Sorry, don't need to fade to black. Apologize for that. So it's coming out of the Rodecaster Pro into channel 1, and I have channel 1 on. And so because of that, I have an audio delay. And in a recent update about 3 months ago now, Blackmagic Design did an update, and now you can go into the software, which means it applies to any product that you buy that has switching capability. You get the software with it, and that means that you can now go in and create a delay. So if I didn't do this 4-frame delay, then my audio and my lips would not sync up. So I also have a equalizer, which you can set up, and I have a low pass filter so the low rumbles don't happen when trucks go by. I also have settings inside my Rodecaster Pro. I also have below that the ability to turn on an expander, a gate, a compressor, a limiter, and you can see on the screen right here that I have the limiter on, and I have it set to -6.8. So that means this signal on my microphone can't get any higher than -6.8. That keeps me from having peaking problems. I could also go in here and turn on the compressor. I don't need it. I already have compression. I can turn on a gate, and that helps cut out frequencies. And I can cut out an expander. An expander is designed to, like a compressor, it will actually bring up certain levels in your signal. And you can turn that on right here as well. So that's available in all of the channels. So if you had a microphone right here hooked up to camera number 1. So let me switch screens here again. So this camera behind me, right? If I wanted to put a shotgun microphone on the top and feed audio into the audio jack on the side, then I can use that audio in channel 1. And we'll do this down shot again. Sorry. Let's go back to channel 2. Sorry, we lost channel 1. So let me cut back over here to the software screen. And we'll fix this camera real quick. Okay, it's back on. So because I have the light on channel 1, it's sending audio, and you can see that on the software here as I talk. You can see that channel 1, let me transition over. Channel 1 right here is red because it's on. It's got those effects on it right here. Channel 1 is on. You have the effects on it. You have the equalizer. You have the limiter is on. I also have the 4-frame delay on. And you can see that that's playing in our live broadcast right here because I have channel 1 on. Also, if I cut to camera number 3, because I have it right here set to audio follow video up here, then when I turn on camera 3, that would play on this screen as well. And here's a quick demo of me changing to camera 3. And back again. So now we're back and we just have my vocal audio. I could raise the levels up and down with these sliders. I can pan right to left down here, and that's found on this lower screen. So you have your switcher screen, which we'll talk about here in a minute. I have my media pool screen. I have my audio screen in the software down here. And then if I had Blackmagic Design cameras, I would be able to control the color of my cameras. You can see that I have camera 1 on, but I'm only playing audio. I can't really control the color because it doesn't communicate with my Canon cameras that I'm using right now. So back to the switcher screen. So this is what is ready to play. You can see I lit up camera 3 because that's my HyperDeck, but this is what's playing up here. So this top row is what's playing, and this bottom row is what's ready. And if I had a mix or a HyperDeck, a professional Blackmagic Design Studio HD or 4K, I would have more HDMI inputs and SDI inputs, and that's what these are. They're grayed out. So now if I turn picture-in-picture on the ATEM Mini, so I'm going to show you. Let's come back over here and turn this off. And let me turn picture-in-picture on. Let's cut to camera 4. And let's turn picture-in-picture on. And let's bring it over to you can see it. So that button's right here. So this controls the audio and the video, the audio for channel 1 and 2 inputs on the ATEM Mini. These control the audio for each of the video channels. So input 1, 2, 3, and 4. I control all the audio from right here. Then up here is picture-in-picture. So I can turn picture-in-picture on and off right here. I also could transition to my still right here, but I use the software because it has more features. So if we go back in the software, I can turn off the lower thirds right here, on and off right here. And that's what I normally do when I want to turn the lower thirds off and on. So not only can I control the switching to the cameras, I can cut right here. I can do the auto dissolve right here. I can fade to black if I just want to fade to black. That looks like this. And when I transition back to another camera, fade to black, turn it off, it will go back to the camera that I want on. So cut back to camera number 4 and turn picture in picture back on. Click, and there I am. So I can turn that lower thirds off so it doesn't block the picture in picture. And so now you can see as I am showing you things on the screen, I have the picture in picture in here. And so you can see what I'm working on here on the ATEM Mini. So let's bring this picture back in close. And now you can see, here's your 4 inputs. Here's your audio for those 4 inputs. I have audio follow video on my HyperDeck. So when my HyperDeck turns on and I transition to camera number 3, the audio will follow that picture. So if I cut to it, it would play the video and the audio right now, but I'm not gonna cut to it. So then over here, I have the timing right here of how fast I want a transition to happen. So if I want it to happen at 0.5 seconds, like half a second, I can do a quick transition like that. If I want to do a longer 2-second transition, I can do a transition like that. Somewhere in between, 1.5 seconds, or I always keep it on 1 second. Again, I can use these buttons right here to do different types of transitions. Mix, which is what I normally do. Dip will go to white and then back, but I usually use mix. And then right here is the picture in picture. I can move the picture around, but it's going to make the picture in picture the default size. So if I hit that right now, watch what happens. There you go. I now have a tiny picture that I can move around the screen, but that's not the size picture that I like. And so we're going to go over in the software and we're going to fix it together. So here we are in the software, and I don't like that small picture in picture. So here's where I'm going to make the changes. It's at 0.20. I'm going to change this to 39. Bring that back up to 39. And then I need to move it over, and I can see this. I'm showing you where you do it in the software. So you're not going to see it on the screen. And so I'm going to bring that picture in picture back over. And now I can turn this software off. And now I'm back. And so it's too high on purpose. I wanted to show you that. So let's lower it just a little bit here. That's up and that's down. So we'll leave it right there. So cool. So inside the software, not only do you have the ability to change your key sizes, you can run your media player from here. So I can choose what clip I want out of the media player. So I don't have to drag and drop them down here like this. In the middle of my broadcast, I can just simply choose which one I want right here, and they will populate the media player. I can also choose the clip I want from my HyperDeck from right here, and I can play it. You can see the counter going right here. You shouldn't hear any audio because I have the audio on follow video. It's not on. So even when I play it, unless I change to that camera, it won't play. So it tells me I have 11, 10, 9, 8 seconds left. This tells me how long the clip is, how long it's been playing, and this tells me how long the clip is. I can stop it with 2 seconds left. I can play. I can play it. I can stop it. I can rewind it. So see, it's 47.29 long, 47.29 long. That's how much is remaining. Nothing is playing. But as I play it, it tells me how long it's played right here. It tells me how long the clip is right here. So if I need to get up and get a cup of coffee while a video is playing, I have that much time. This tells me how much time is remaining. So I have 32 seconds left of that video. So I can run all that stuff from this second screen over. So here's where I control the different key and effects and colors for backgrounds. Right now it's set to white. If I go back in here, turn this off, I'll turn around again so you can see me. Now watch what happens when I do this dip transition. Cuts from white to white. And I can change those default colors if I wanted to from this screen right here. Sorry, I didn't show you that, did I? So let's go back, do that one more time. Let's transition this over. So again, right down here, you have this dip switch, and that correlates, that dip switch correlates to what colors you have set right up here in the control screen. So under this screen right here, I can change colors. Then if I want to record, I can record down here. So if I had the SSD card plugged in, I can record right from my ATEM Mini Pro and also the ISO. And if you have an ISO, guys, that's going to actually record all 4 HDMI inputs, and it's going to record your media player. If you have an ATEM Mini Pro like I do, that's this device right here that you can see on the screen right now. This is the Pro. It says Pro right here. They also make just an ATEM Mini. It just says ATEM Mini up here. That does not record, or you can't stream from it. You would have to use it as a web camera in your computer software. And the ISO says ISO, and it will record all 4 HDMI inputs as well as your media input. So we have covered, let's switch cameras here. We have covered the ATEM Mini, the inputs, the audio. We've talked about how you can do the dissolves. We've looked at the software, and I want to show a little bit more software before we go today and show you exactly how you set up the HyperDeck. So let's go back to the software. So when you originally get your HyperDeck, you have to go into this screen down here on the bottom, and then you have the ability, you have this general tab. This is how the frame rates that I'm streaming right now, 1080p at 29.97 frames per second. My cameras are set for that as well. The next screen is your audio inputs. I can split the audio inputs. I have other settings in here that I can do, line or microphone in. I'm using line right now. You got the multi-view, so I can turn the audio settings on or off in the multi-view. I can change the name. You can see right now I have HyperDeck set on channel 3 and 4, because when I'm using my HyperDeck to do graphics, fly-in graphics and animations, I would have channel 3 and 4 be HyperDeck inputs. Labels, so I can name the different cameras inputs. I have output labels, I have media labels, and then I have my HyperDeck. So you could have 4 HyperDecks hooked up to your your ATEM Mini. So I could have 4 clips ready to go, and here's where you connect to it. So I have it in input number 3. You can see that on the screen, and then I have to put in the IP address, and inside the HyperDeck is the address, and then you click save right down here, and you're ready to go. And now when I can set 3 frames of delay before it starts to roll. I could change this to 2 seconds and save it. I can also have it auto roll, and when I have this little click right here on the screen, then when I hit dissolve to channel 3 where my HyperDeck is plugged into, guess what? The video rolls automatically. So I can turn the auto roll on and off, which is great. And then the last is remote control. So you could remote control from other devices, and I don't have those. So I could control this. So if you bought a control board, a big control board, you can hook it up here as well. And then also in this little screen down here, let's get out of that. Down here on the bottom, this is also where you would click in to connect to other software, other items as well. And then up here you have on the top of the screen, you can see I have output, so I can switch views up here. So here's your multi-view. I could switch to my HyperDeck input. I could switch to camera 1, camera 2, and then you have other screens up here as well. We're not going to go into all of those in detail in this video. So I love the fact that you have the ability to control these things during your broadcast. The fact that you can stream to different locations right here, Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, Restream. I can even stream to the ATEM streaming bridge, which is a whole nother device we'll talk about here in a second. But right now I'm not streaming at all. My last stream you can see was to Facebook. And an old streaming key right here. So again, back to the media player screen, which is usually what I have up and running. And we'll turn this off and go back to this view. So there's lots of integration between the ATEM Mini Pro, the HyperDeck, and my Rodecaster Pro for audio, right? I can play some music right now through my Rodecaster Pro and bring it up into the podcast or the stream. There you go. I can dim it out. I could even do some sound effects from my Rodecaster Pro. I think that's sound effects, right? Yep. Crickets. Applause. So even the Rodecaster Pro has some great advantages integrated. So we've looked at that at the last video. In this video, we've talked about the HyperDeck and the ATEM Mini. Also wanted to reach down here and grab this little device. This is the ATEM streaming bridge, and I did a video on this. I can actually send a signal from my ATEM Mini to this and project on a monitor inside my house through the network, or I can actually program this in my ATEM Mini to communicate with each other. And as long as I get through my firewall at my house and whatever other location, then I can send my program stream to this. So if I wanted another monitor, I could use this as another monitor here in the studio. I've actually broadcast to my TV, and you can check out that video right here on the channel. Right through my internet, through the ATEM Mini Pro. And how do you do that? Let me show you real quickly. I already highlighted it. Let's hit it again. Right up in this screen right here in the outputs, I would choose my streaming bridge right here. And if it was plugged into the network, I could go on the air. And instead of streaming to Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, or Periscope, or Restream, Periscope, I could actually stream to that bridge. And then from the bridge, anywhere in the continental United States or outside of the United States. And I think that's a great feature. And so you can look at the ATEM streaming bridge video. I hope this video has helped you out. We looked at the software just briefly. There's lots more in it. We've looked at the ATEM Mini. There's a lots more in it as well. We have looked at the HyperDeck. We haven't even dove into graphics or the fact that the HyperDeck can record. So I will show a demo of that in my HyperDeck video. We will be looking at other things here in my studio. And so as we go out, let's put up the slideshow here. And as we say goodbye. So you have my laptop, which is an Asus ZenBook Pro Duo. And so we're streaming from it right now to the great outdoors, the world of live streaming. And you can see that I've got my iCan monitor hooked up, my HyperDeck hooked up, my Rodecaster Pro hooked up. I have two microphones always hooked up here in the studio. My SM7B, which you saw earlier, as well as, which I'm talking on right now. And I have my shotgun microphone, which is a Rode NTG3, and that's on a boom C-stand. So I can go do unboxings and have things going on in other parts of my studio. Here's the back of the ATEM Mini Pro. From left to right, you can see power input, the Ethernet input that hooks it up to the network in your switch. And then if you have internet, which you probably do in your house, you would have a ability to stream right out from there. Next to that is the USB-C port. Right now that's plugged in into my laptop. So I have the ATEM Mini Pro streaming as a web camera to OBS, which is software. It's a free software that you can download. So check that out. Next to that is the HDMI output. That's what I was sending the multi-view out to channel 2 in our stream today. But normally that would be going out to my bigger monitor, which is behind me. You can hook up an SSD to it when you're not using it as a webcam. And so that's the SSD I recommend. It's a Samsung, and that can record 4K live. So that's why I bought it. It's super fast. I also edit from those. So you can edit full resolution video right from these SSDs. They're not inexpensive, but I'll put a link here on the video. So again, here's different things I have in the studio. The front and back of the HyperDeck is right here. And the back of the ATEM Mini Pro. So the HyperDeck has the power output, the Ethernet port, the ability to link it with other HyperDecks so they communicate with each other and they're all synced up with in your studio if you had a TV station. You can control it remotely. In the middle there, you can see that serial input. That way you could control it from a serial device. Above that is the HDMI out. I'm using that to my Portakeys monitor so I can see the video, but you probably would use that as an output into your ATEM Mini Pro instead of having to adapt it with adapters. And I'll show you those before we get off the air here. And then here's my Rodecaster Pro, and I'm going into channel 1 and 2 with my 2 microphones. And then I'm coming out into my subwoofer to a HOSA switch. That switch will go between my ATEM Mini Pro in channel 1 or my studio speakers in my studio. And that's why I have that HOSA switch. And I talked about that in my last video. So again, here's everything hooked up. And that's enough of that. So I promised before we leave, I'll show you the HyperDeck, one more level of that. So let's switch over to camera 4, bring up picture in picture, and we'll zoom back out here. So right back here, off the desk, because they fell down, I have, let me see if I can grab these up here. I have 2 of these, and they are adapters. They're SDI to HDMI, because the back of the HyperDeck, in order to use it as a regular channel and an alpha channel, you have to come out of the SDI. So I come out of the SDI, out of the back of the HyperDeck with an SDI cable. That SDI cable goes right in here. And I'll zoom in a little closer right here. The SDI goes from the back of the HyperDeck into this converter, and then I have power to it, USB power to it, and then I have HDMI coming out, and that HDMI goes in right here. And when I hook it up for the alpha channel, I have another one. I pull out channel 4, and I put in the other channel 4 from my HyperDeck, and I will be demoing that in our next video. So thank you so much for joining me today on this live stream. I hope that it's been encouraging to you, maybe helping you make some decisions about integrating the ATEM Mini Pro with your laptop in your studio as a webcam. Maybe you want to do some live streaming from it. The HyperDeck, maybe you didn't know anything about the HyperDeck. So I hope that gives you a basic understanding of it. Make sure you check out my next video on the HyperDeck coming up here in the next 7 days, right here on the YouTube channel. And again, I hope that these videos are teaching you more about the studio. Sorry it's so long, but that's a lot to cover. And I wanted to do as thorough a job as we possibly can. So with that, we will say goodbye until the next live stream. If you have a question, please leave it here. Please subscribe to this channel. Please like the video if it helped you out. Please share it with your friends and your family. And thank you so much for tuning in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the media pool, because this is a training video. And in my media pool, I'm going to drop in my still and say goodbye. I'll see you in the next video.